Would you talk to the doctor? Well, hello there, and welcome to another episode of Talk to the Doctor. Okay? And you know what? Today, I'm so stoked because I get to sit here with Lakey Peterson, pro surfer, who came into my studio today. Hi, Lakey.
Hi, happy to be here.
Oh my gosh, so happy to have you. It's so amazing for me.
Quite the studio setup. I'm very impressed. It's very nice in here, very comfortable.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you're comfortable because that's key. And,
yes.
And I'm glad you like my studio because we put a lot of work into it. So I'm glad you recognize that. But you know what I want to do is I want to just come in hot, straight in and just go, where did it all start for you in a sense of like when you were a little grommet, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you kind of first discovered surfing and how did that all apparent and where was that?
Yeah, so I grew up in Santa Barbara, California. Pretty idyllic place to grow up. But that's always home, always will be, always has been, even though I live down here in San Clemente now. But yeah, honestly, growing up, it's funny with surfing. I feel like a lot of people who go on to be pro surfers or heavily in the surf industry kind of grow up with a family that maybe did it before them or a parent that was in the industry. And my family really was not at all in the surf industry. So growing up as a grommet, as you say, I kind of didn't start surfing till a lot later. I did like a surf school when we were in Australia. Actually, I was 6 and I just got pushed into waves on the soft top sort of a thing.
You were in Australia when you were 6?
I was. My family took me, my brother and sister, my parents took us out of school and we traveled around the world for a year and we stayed in Australia for one of those months.
And they weren't surfer parents?
No, we were just, they weren't.
They just wanted to go to Australia?
Yeah, Australia. I mean, we went all over the place, but Australia was one of the stops. And my mom loves the ocean. She actually surfs now, and my brother surfs now too. But it wasn't like this is, we're going to try and get you into this sort of thing. It was just for fun.
Were those kind of let me just ask you, were your parents like hippie parents? Or
It sounds like it, huh, with that. They were pretty before their time, I guess, with homeschooling us. I feel like everyone homeschools now and then doing all the traveling. I wouldn't say they were that hippie, no.
But what were they, what was their vibe?
So my dad, he owns and operates McDonald's restaurants in Santa Barbara and Goleta, actually.
Damn.
Fun fact, my grandfather invented the Egg McMuffin sandwich, breakfast sandwich,
Come on.
actually. Yeah.
Really?
So that's very
Egg
not
McMuffin.
hippie. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So that's what he does. And then my mom was, she was a competitive swimmer, actually. She held the world record for swimming in, I should know the year, but I don't. Sorry,
Sprint
Mom.
or distance?
Sprinter, 50-meter sprint.
Well, I'm seeing the connection between your path as a surfer and your mother as a swimmer.
Maybe why I got some paddle power.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, genetically, but just all through the influence. She's a water lady.
Yeah, big
Swimming
time.
is, a big part of surfing. So, yeah, how
Big
cool is
time.
that? Right.
Yeah. So
okay.
I don't know, just we were in Santa Barbara and that was kind of, that's what, and she teaches swimming, still does now. And yeah, I guess
cool.
just saw the opportunity we were fortunate enough to have the resources to take this big trip for a year and go all these really cool places as a family.
Do you remember
incredible.
where those, Australia,
Yeah, so I'm the youngest of my siblings, so I was 6. So I remember a lot, but not. I wish I could. My sister was 12, and she can remember everything. More. Yeah, Australia was amazing. We were right there at Manly Beach, just loving it. Sydney, it was so fun. We went to Tahiti, Fiji. We spent a ton of time in Bali before Bali had exploded, which was actually. It was amazing it was really nice and had cool hotels and this and that, but now it's kind of
blown out.
It's blown out. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
so
let's just keep it real.
You
and 6 million Russians, from what I've heard.
Yeah. And we did a lot of Europe. So yeah, it was really
cool.
It was an incredible journey.
At 6 years old, you got to travel the world with your parents.
Yeah.
Whereupon, am I right that you kind of were pushed into waves in Australia for the first time?
Yeah. So that's where it started. Yeah, exactly.
Manly Beach. You got on your first time. You got on a surfboard.
Yep. I still remember my instructor's name was Tom. He worked at Manly Surf School. It's funny, I'm now married to a Tom who is also from Australia. Different Tom, but I got someone with Toms in Australia.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
And you know what I love so much is that, people come to my show and then they get to find out so much stuff that maybe we didn't know about, And so just even right now already, we're a few minutes in, there's already so much cool stuff to talk about, So you got to do that. You have great memories.
Yeah.
Some you'd like to remember more, but you did recall some pretty specific memories there.
Yeah.
And then, so that's where you first got on a surfboard.
Yep, pretty much, yeah.
And then what happened when you came back home? Were you then surf stoked or something? Like
So
what happened? You know?
I was pretty surf stoked, but I was like such a sporty kid. That's definitely been my strong point.
What sports?
So I was playing water polo and then tennis, like really competitive tennis. And tennis, for any tennis players out there, it's a pretty, like, you got to start. I mean, every sport, if you want to be good, you got to start so young.
Yeah.
And I was kind of gung ho in the tennis world doing tournaments. And then, but I would still surf on the weekends with my next door neighbor and his dad. Actually, we could walk to this little right-hand point break in Santa Barbara. So I'd go down with them and surf, but just kind of for fun. And then the focus was tennis. And then I was like, you know what? Going to the beach is way better than going to Bakersfield every weekend. I'd way rather do this. So I did. My parents signed me up for some little, like we have the Rincon Classic. It's a local surf event in Santa Barbara. Loved it. There was only the boys division, so we did that.
Whoa. Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, so back then, you had to surf in the boys. There was no girls division.
No, not for that. Not for the
Except for that contest.
Yeah,
so you were
young
just
age
surfing
group.
against boys.
Yeah.
At what age did you start that contest? Do you recall?
I think I was 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
So by 10, you were entering the Rincon Classic. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And only surfing against boys because there wasn't really girl heats.
Yeah.
And how did that feel, or how did you do, or just what was that experience like?
It was so fun. I don't even remember how I did. I surfed a few heats. I didn't win or anything like that, but it was a blast.
It juiced you up a little bit.
Totally. And that event's so cool. It's just all local Santa Barbara people.
It is a classic event.
It really is.
Yeah.
Shout out to Chris Keats who runs that event. And then I signed up after that though for the NSSAs, which is like our national junior series up and down California.
Totally.
And they have them in California. They have them for kids in Florida or out in Hawaii, whatever. So I just signed up for like our regional NSSA events.
And at what age did you start the NSSA?
So that was about 12.
When you went to the NSSA, did you click out of tennis by then?
That's when I started to click out of tennis.
yeah.
Yeah, it was like pretty full on tennis in this. And then I really started enjoying the NSSAs and I was starting to do good in them. And it was like a year transition out of tennis more into surfing. And also my parents, like it's so much driving if you're doing a couple different sports every weekend as a
insane.
kid, let alone.
And how would that even happen? They would there'd be moments of conflict.
Yes, for sure.
So you chose your sport by what age?
So I really feel like I chose surfing, if I'm being honest. At like 14, I was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to try and do. I was pretty into it 12 and 13 for sure, but 14 I think was like a really pivotal year.
Where you just went, this is it. Tennis, I love you, but you're fired. And and it's all good, but Bakersfield, goodbye.
Yeah.
And wherever you had to go, because the cool thing is surfing, you're going to be at the beach.
Yeah.
So about at 14 you clicked in, and I want to say so. And you are how old today?
31.
So I want to say in my book that's somewhere around 17 years.
Yeah.
Okay, if I just quickly do the math.
I'm dyslexic, so you better than me.
Boom. Alex always trips on that. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Pop off the street math. Anyways, so don't get me trying to do algebra or anything like that because that's failure.
Street math is all you need anyways.
Boom. Yeah. I knew quick in school that I wasn't going to be building bridges.
Yeah, there you go.
I was like, no. But yeah. So for 17 years of your life, literally over half of your life, you have been fully dedicated to surfing. Yeah. And what I understand is that you've been on tour for how many years now?
This will be my 14th season this year, yeah.
14 years qualified onto the CT. I want to say just straight out of the gate, congratulations for that.
Thank you. I'll take that. Congratulations.
That's proper
right
there. That is nothing to shake a stick at. I mean, I don't know too many people who have done that. Plus, you've done really well at it. You stayed qualified all those years, right?
Yes.
You didn't drop off?
No, the only year the mid-year cut deal got a little weird. In 2024, I got 11th, but they gave me the wild card back on for 25. So technically, I fell off that year by one spot. But
you got back on. I remember that. I remember the tension of that.
Yeah.
Me personally experiencing that.
Me
I was
too.
like, oh my God, what? Because that whole thing, that there's so much going on there. But
yeah,
still coming back. Okay, so now we're in that time in your life, like around the time when you were growing up in Santa Barbara. But I just want to throw it out to the whole Santa Barbara. I just want to throw it out there how much I love Bobby Martinez. I'm a huge Bobby fan. He's a friend of mine.
Yeah.
Bobby, I'm calling you into my show, my man.
Shout out, Bobby.
Get
come
out there.
hang
I want to come have you and talk to the doctor. But yeah, just such a Bobby fan. And obviously, Tom is just, a legend, just Mr. Rincon and
Yeah.
just Mr. Santa Barbara, just the whole thing.
Yeah.
But to come from that legacy,
Yeah.
was there people growing up when you were really clicking in? Was there people that influenced you?
Yeah, it's crazy to actually say this, and I don't think at the time I appreciated this enough. And this is just me being honest. I mean, there's definitely people that influenced me that weren't big in the surf world, but I am the same age as Frank Curran, Tom's son, and Pat's a little bit younger than me. And so I literally would go surfing with Pat and Frank and Tom every single day. We'd get in the car with Tom and he would take us to Rincon or Little Rincon, or my mom would sometimes take just me and Pat and Frank when Tom was doing other stuff. But I really grew up surfing a ton with Tom Curran, which is now a crazy thing to actually, I just was so, I don't know, they were just our friends, and I just hung out with Pat and Frank. And so looking back on it now, though, it's pretty amazing. I really spent a lot of my young years surfing with the Currans, and with Tom. And never forget, he took me up north we went up north a few times, and I was so scared.
Kalama, or
way up
north?
Even a little further up there.
Sick.
There's some other spots, and I was terrified of sharks.
Yeah,
And he's so
a
nonchalant, and my mom
Yes.
would be like, "Where did you guys go today?" I was like, "I don't know," but
How
yeah,
cool.
I surfed a ton with them growing up, which is really amazing. I feel so blessed to have had those times, with them.
Yeah, that's amazing. And, once again, you come on my show, you never know what you find out. Some really cool stuff. I mean, that's really cool stuff,
cool.
right? Just organically kind of fell into this program where there were the friends in your life, and that's
Yeah.
who you're surfing with every day.
Yeah.
In and around such a pristine part of the coast. I mean,
Yeah.
I got to throw it out. I just love Santa Barbara. I do.
Yeah,
I just
know.
love it there for so many reasons. It's just special.
It is.
It really is
I agree
special.
with
And
you.
I feel that my home is special as well. So I recognize certain spots. I mean, every spot's special. Let me throw it out there. I don't care where you come from. If you're from Long Beach, whatever, that's special to you, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, whatever. We have
For
certain
sure.
spots. Like if you come from La Jolla and there's blacks and all the reefs down there. And, there's certain spots that are kind of like epicenters,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I want to say, it's no question. Santa Cruz, there's another one. I throw it out there to all the Santa Cruz crew because,
Totally.
Rufo and the boys,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
what a town, So certain spots, right?
Yeah.
Where you're from is definitely one of those. And you coming from there as being, in a sense, the premier lady who's really come to say, knocking on the door for all these years and just
Yeah.
on the tour. So, going from that age, and then let's talk about how you got from doing NSSAs and what that experience was like and how that put you on track to go qualify.
Yeah. So the reason I think 14 was such a change, a pivotal point in my career, is because we have the NSSA Nationals. They still do nationals every year for the kids. And I think now they're at Huntington, but at that time they were at Trestles. And I was not favored to win nationals or anything like that. And I ended up winning the nationals that year when I was 14. And so this comes into your question here, really put me on the craziest trajectory to qualify a couple years later, because Nike at the time was sponsoring athletes and in the surf industry, and they had some people out at that event. And so I got a call from them after that event wanting to sponsor me, which is the biggest dream ever of all time for
Nike.
anybody. Yeah. And
Ring.
yeah. Yeah.
May I speak with Lakey, please? Yeah. This happens to be the dude from Nike. And you're like, Mom.
Yeah. Yeah, Mom,
Wow.
literally, what do I do? So that was incredible.
That's a moment.
And it was.
That's a moment in
life. And at that time, too, they were filming the first all-women surf film, which we released. It was called Leave a Message, and it was me,
Incredible.
Carissa, Coco Ho, Malia. It was all the...
Insane
it was,
film, yeah.
It was insane, and it was so cool to be a part of that. And that's really when I started traveling, getting out of California, for the first time, not traveling, but surfing-wise,
Yes.
these other waves. And then obviously from there I was like, okay, now time to try the
Get on the QS.
QS and try and qualify. And at 16, I got to the end of the season of the QS and had qualified. So it kind of all was really
click,
quick.
boom, boom.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like a song from POD or something. It's
Yes.
man,
Properly.
whoa.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny because just throwing that in there, POD does have a video called Boom.
No, nice.
Yeah, it's a like a ping pong kind of concept thing, and I'm in that video.
Oh,
so I don't know how that came out of my head, but anyway. So a little self promotion there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so But so now we've qualified. You didn't spend much time on the QS. Is that the vibe I'm getting here?
I didn't.
Did you do 1 year on the QS and say, what's up?
Yeah, it was like maybe 2. The first year was feeling it out, and then second year I was like, all right, I'm doing this. I want to be on the real deal tour, not this one.
How did you feel about the QS at the time? Was it really like a little bit of grovel? Just the whole different thing between the QS. I mean, the CT is the big dream, right?
Yeah.
But at the QS is a little bit of a grovel. Not say, you didn't grovel through it for very long, but I'm saying it's kind of a grind.
It is, for sure. I think that's fair to say.
They make you pay your dues.
They do. And also at that time, this was 2011 when I was on the QS, and women's surfing was like in a very different place than it is now on the championship tour, let alone on the QS. It was just not a place that you could really stay afloat without sponsorship at all. Like, you needed to kind of get on that championship tour quick and have good sponsors to kind of have a legit
to
career
pay the
path.
bill. Yeah.
Yeah, and even then it was so different than what it is now.
It was meager.
It was.
It was meager. They didn't give the girls much money.
No, not at all. And I'm so lucky I had some sponsorships and was able to make that transition pretty quick. And then, things have come so far on the women's tour, which has just been amazing to be there when it wasn't so good, and then through this whole transition to where it is now, payment, everything is really, really cool to have experienced and seen firsthand. I guess I can really appreciate it now. But yeah, I guess I don't know, I was just having so much fun. I didn't think too much about anything. I always wanted to win and do well and be on, the world tour, and like believed I could be there, but I wasn't, I guess, holding on too tight. I didn't have like crazy expectation on me, which I think was a blessing in hindsight. Yeah.
You feel that, like, in a sense, by not having a big, hammer over your head, like some people we know kind of came out of their amateur careers with such a big hammer on their head, like they're going to just, and then they have all this pressure, right?
Yeah.
Then they get to the CT, and we've seen that. I'm not going to mention names, but we've seen that kind of become a thing for certain people, right? So you kind of came out with none of that. You had, you had goals, you had dreams, but you didn't really have this big, huge, like, weight on yourself.
Yeah.
So you kind of lightly came and went and surfed and navigated your way through it. And, made the tour.
Yeah.
And you qualified for the CT at what age?
So I was 16, and then the first year on the tour, I was 17.
That's just incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
crazy.
you're literally 14 years ago.
Yeah.
And
crazy.
so as we speak, you're going on tour for what will be, again, your 14th year on tour. Directly, I think one of those years you came through, maybe there was a year where there was injuries and you
I did.
through an injury wild card 1 year.
I did. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, but otherwise, that one split thing. Let's talk a little bit about, now you get on tour. You're 17 years old. Okay. And you're traveling the world, living your dreams. But what was that like, in a sense of, like, how did that feel? What was it like? What were the struggles and the joys,
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, when it's funny now, I see all these young girls qualifying on tour, and I'm definitely the veteran and the older one at this point, the ripe age of 31. And but it's funny to see them. I'm like, geez, you're so young. Like, you are so young with your approach. And I was them too at one stage on the tour, that you just think you got it all figured out and you're like high on your horse. And, it's funny. I think I came in similarly to that, of just like, oh, whatever, I'm going to figure this out. Like, I got it. I've been just winning the last 3 years straight. And then all of a sudden you're like, ooh, Chris Moore's in my first heat. Like, you get some realization really quick of how good everyone actually is on the tour. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I was lucky to have my parents be able to travel with me a little bit. And then also I started working with Mike Parsons at that time, which has been such a blessing for my whole career. I don't coach with him anymore, but he's still such a big part of my life and my career and everything. And at that time, it was just great to have somebody who really had come from the industry, right? Like, Mike is
full on.
As involved in surfing
as you can get,
and knows the ins and outs, an incredible coach, like, just very level-headed. And so I think it was nice to kind of have someone to just show me, like, okay, this is how you do it, this is where you go, things that my parents just had no idea, because they weren't from that cut from that cloth. So yeah, I started working with Mike real early on, and that was incredible, and kind of had a good first year on tour, and then struggled for a lot of years, and came into my prime a bit later, more 2018, 2019. But yeah, it's all just one big learning curve. You really never stop evolving.
Would you say the difference between, like, did you have to learn a lot about the difference between, there's like really good competitive surfers, and then there's surfers you just watch when at free surf sessions and you're like, wow, they're really gnarly. But some people don't seem to transition and be able to do that in a heat.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's as like the people who watch surfing.
Yeah.
Okay, I relate to it like this. Like we get in here, I get a bunch of the boys over, we watch fight night, right? We'll watch UFC fights, and I train some pro fighters as well. And so I have some fighters in my life, and they'll come here and they'll watch us, a bunch of surfers sitting there, opinionating about, what you should have done this. And it's funny because to see some of my black belt friends, fighter friends, they don't say much. They just sit there and probably they just marvel over just us guys sitting there going, well, what opinionating, right?
Yeah, totally.
So it's like to opinionate about surfing. A lot of times people are like just spectators, like when we're growing up surfing the pier and the people are saying this or that, and they never even paddle on a surfboard.
Yeah.
The difference between really actually just grabbing the bull by the horns and doing it in a heat, and tons of people on the beach, there's TVs, there's everything going on, and you got to click it in this little 30-minute zone. What can we say about the difference? Did you have to find out a lot about that, or did you just kind of start so early doing that was more your...
I'm a competitive person, like very competitive in whatever I'm doing. So that's like innately in me. But then you're definitely right. There's some people that are beautiful free surfers, and you put them in a heat and they just don't have it, or they don't want it. Almost like a Dane Reynolds.
I was just going to say Dane Reynolds.
I mean,
he's a perfect person for that.
I'm like, if you just had like Mick Fanning's brain with you'd be Kelly Slater,
It's insane how good he is.
It's insane. It's insane how good he and still like,
to this day, he's
incredible.
just smoking guys.
Yeah.
I mean, not smoking guys. That's the thing. He's not out there to do that. He's just doing his deal.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between I want to beat you.
Yeah.
I want to fucking beat you in a heat, or I just want to go out and rip and I just blow minds and whatever. That's kind of a different mindset.
It is, and I think the best surfers competitively are the ones who have like the mix of that though, because people who hold on too tight and are too competitive, maybe something that I've been bad at, can lose the flow or the creativity sometimes, which is a huge part of surfing and progressing your surfing, and the judges can see that too. And then you find someone like a Stephanie Gilmore, or like even a Katie. She reminds me a lot of Dane, but she cares more. And even Steph.
We're talking about Katie Simmers.
Excuse me. And Steph Gilmore, like they've got this really natural, beautiful surfing style, and just like they just naturally have it. And it seems like, gosh, they don't need to try, but they also have the competitive switch and tick, and they actually are trying way harder than they come off. Yeah. Way harder. Like, I always laugh when people are like, Steph's not that competitive. I'm like, you have no idea how competitive she is. Yeah. So I think, but they kind of have that perfect blend and balance, which is hard to find. I don't always have that, but I think those are the champions, really. Like they find this flow, but also that competitiveness to switch on and just be a smart heat surfer sometimes. It doesn't always look pretty, but that's how you win heats. So.
Gosh, I love what you just said, because, I think about it, and I think it's some of these people where you see, they're almost too in their head and they're just too anal about it. They're just so focused on, it makes them rigid, like kind of constricts their energy, like where they're just so focused on the heat. I mean, you got to be focused on the heat, but there's a blend.
There's a blend,
because surfing itself is such a flow. It's such a bitchin' thing to do. And it's like, if you can keep that, you see that joy of riding the wave, but then you want to win the heat, but it just, some of those people where they just get too, I don't know who, I don't want to mention names, but I just feel like there's sometimes where I see people and go, guy, just relax a little bit. Like, don't make it about winning only. You know? Go have fun.
Totally. I see that a ton. I mean, I have it within myself where there's times where my coach or even just people around me are like, hey, just loosen up. Just go surf. Like, just let it go. Let it rip. Enjoy. And then sometimes it's like, hey, click in a little bit more. You're a little too lackadaisical. It's totally. It really is a fine line. Like, it's hard to always find that
center line where you're having fun, but really trying to win in this 30-minute box, or whatever time it is. You know, but inside this box, it's like, I got this chance. So many waves coming. They're here. We talk a little bit about the difference between, man on man, woman on woman versus 4-man heats. What a big difference that is, right?
Huge.
So I know, let's, that, like, I know that coming up when you're in the qualifiers, those are 4-person heats.
Yeah, way different.
Whole different scene, right?
For
now
sure.
you go, boom, you go from qualifiers to CT, and now it's just mano a mano. Like, and all of a sudden you got, your first heat and you're just in, and now you got the big names, which I always thought was a trip, like.
Yeah, the seating. Yeah. You definitely come in. If you're low seed coming in, it's like, oh, good. Yeah, you got to earn your stripes to get up there because it's hard. Yeah, you're
out of the gate.
Hitters.
You're going up against the top dogs in the deal, and you're like, literally. Well, that's interesting. Why would I? Can I just work my way up into that? I was wondering about that, but it's been explained to me, so I understand that too. But so I mean, then we get to man on man or woman on woman, and is that a whole different mindset?
Yeah, I guess I'm so used to. I mean, we have some 3-woman heats, but even that is way different than 4.
Yeah,
4 feels way harder.
Everyone's come out of the 3s anyway, right?
Yeah. So once you go to like women on women or man on man heats, and you're in that point at the comp, it definitely changes. It changes your strategy a little bit in terms of like just your priority rotation, what ways you're willing to take under priority, how much you're willing to just sit and wait, like. Yeah. You could play some defense. It's a little bit more tactical, where I feel like if you're in a 4-person heat, you can, you're only going to get priority maybe a couple times in that whole heat. So you're probably going to be more active the whole time, like looking for scraps under priority, whatever, like searching, sniffing around more, where I feel like man-on-man heats, you're a bit more calculated with your decision-making and the waves you're going on, which sometimes can be a curse too if you're just overthinking it. I see a lot of times people that just start surfing and riding and building. Sometimes it's the better go, but that's so also like condition dependent too.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So. That right there, when I'm watching and I'm seeing the whole different thing between, someone that goes out who's classic and they got 8 waves before the other guy's got 1. Right. They're just surfing and just getting loose and whatever. Yeah. But there's no, what's trippy about surfing is, I know, but I'm just saying, is that there's no one way. There's never, it's like there's 6 different ways to skin a cat. There's no one way that's the path. Yeah. Like you could just sit, and like these people that sit and wait for a bomb.
Ethan Ewing.
They get too sick. Yeah.
Every time.
It's incredible, right?
It's incredible,
And then there's other people that are just scrappy and getting all kinds of waves, and then sometimes that works because the guy sat, but he never got a second wave. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He got a sick first wave, but never got a second wave. Yeah. And the other guy got 2 like mid scores and made it through. So there's no way, because you don't know what Mother Nature's doing.
Yeah.
Sure. I want to say something about Tom Curran. Something about that guy.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what it is about his magnetic energy. Yeah. But the ocean gives him waves, man.
I think you're right.
It's in magic.
There's a few people like that. It's funny you just said that. I swear there's a thing. I talk about this with my husband all the time, and we laugh. I'm like, I swear there's certain people. Jack Robinson sometimes has this vibe to him. John Steph sometimes. I'm like, how did you just where did that come from? But there are a few people, Tom, who just have like this ocean awareness. I don't know. It can't be taught. It can't be learned. Kelly's obviously one of them.
Kelly
too.
Slater is one of those as well.
It's weird. Yeah.
They just have some relationship with the ocean. And the ocean loves them. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But it's literally magic when you watch it time and time again. You're just going, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And I just, we've talked about Tom Curran, but I want to relate this one memory that I have. I think it was like this guy. I mean, so I'm at like the Gotcha Pro. It's in like Sandy Beach. This is like 86 or 7 or something like that. Mm-hmm. Derek Ho's in the heat. I'm on the beach. Just I'm in Hawaii. I'm just fanned out. I lived in Hawaii for a long time, but I'm from here. So anyway, Tom Curran takes off on this wave and S's down, and it's sandy. It's junky waves. It's from the outside, and you got to S through it. And he comes into the inside where it's standing up, and then he's going. I've never seen this before. I've never seen it again. This has already been like almost 40 years ago this happened. So he's driving down. Then he gets on this left wall. Yeah. So he's riding down the left wall. But there's a right. You know how beach break kind of vibes. Sure. So there's a right coming at him, right? Yeah. The guy goes into the tube. Going like, so the right's coming here and he just goes into the tube.
Yeah.
So and we're on the beach going, well, that was interesting. Yeah. And he totally disappears.
Yeah.
And so we think it's over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then somehow in the tube, he flips around and comes out going right.
No way.
And it's just like,
Houdini.
Houdini? Like, and it was so smooth and so crazy. And you're like,
yeah.
I've never seen it like, the guy is
he's crazy.
He's insane.
So creative too. Creative. Like I think the best surfers aesthetically to watch are the really creative surfers where you're just like, how did he even think about that? Exactly. But he's willing to just try it. He's not scared to blow the wave, whatever. And the best surfers to watch I wish I had more of that, are just so creative with how they draw their lines or what they're going to do, and they're not afraid to try it, and just see what happens.
Totally. Like, can he just,
That's like, crazy.
So would lead me to this question because, who would be your top 5 favorite surfers of all time?
Yes, that's such a great question. It's pretty hard to narrow that one down. You gave me a little heads up before we started. I've been thinking about it.
I know it's been back there ticking while we've been talking.
Yeah.
But I'm coming at you now.
I think I would put Tom Curran for sure in there. I don't know how you don't. I would put Stephanie Gilmore, Carissa Moore. I got 2 more only. Oh, geez, that's so hard. I think I would put Dane Reynolds and Mick Fanning.
My gosh, what an awesome top 5.
I think that's my top 5.
I mean, those people are just without refute.
Yeah.
There's no one that could debate. I mean, not that anyone debates your top 5, whoever that is,
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just amazing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool. I could see the inspiration as well.
Yeah.
In your surfing and your attitude. Those are all people that kind of represent love of surfing.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And want to win.
Yeah.
And I feel like coming back to you, like, so here we are, we're entering you're entering your 14th year on tour.
Mm-hmm.
And, I know that you've done really well at certain spots over the years. I know that you've done well at J Bay. I know that you've won something in Bali.
Yep.
I know that you've done well in Australia.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And is there any events that you just feel coming up on tour this year that you just super stoked, can't wait to get there and just froth out?
My one event left, well, I would like to win them all, but there's one event that I want to win Bells Beach the most. I haven't won there. And that is like at the top of my list. It's funny, J Bay was at the top, but I've ticked that one off. So
yeah, that was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah. So and Bells too. I have a really special connection there. My husband is from there.
Oh, he's from Torquay?
Yep.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Just right
cool.
there, literally right behind Bells. There's all these big lots of land back there, and he lives on one of those lots back there. So
oh my
really
gosh,
what
a bummer, Tom.
Yeah.
I feel your pain.
Yeah.
That's a really terrible place
spot.
to be from. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that's really cool. So
It's
when you
cool.
guys go to Oz, that's where you hang.
That's where we hang. Yeah.
Sick.
So I've been there so much outside of the event happening there too, and just
Cool.
love the area and the place, and
Totally, on Talk to the Doctor, we're throwing it out to Torquay because what a iconic place of surfing.
Yeah.
Just what an awesome spot. Just
It
the whole
is.
thing. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
what a actual alpha spot of our sport,
Yeah,
right?
it's a
and then so you're going to a place that almost kind of, tell me if I'm wrong, but a little bit kind of like your roots in Santa Barbara a little bit.
A little bit, yeah, for
You know?
sure. I find the area very much like Santa Barbara. I find like you kind of have the mountains meet the sea a little
Yeah.
bit, and there's all these little bitchin' right hand point breaks, and then you
Yeah.
can go for a gorgeous hike or run, or it's definitely has like this central
parallel.
coast of California vibe. Yeah.
Kind of Central Coasty, yeah.
Yes, very
A little
much.
more north of Santa
Little-
Barbara, right?
yeah.
Yeah, a little colder.
Yes,
right.
yes, exactly.
Maybe not quite as sunny, but
Yeah.
and also the town probably not as prolific as far as it's not as big.
No, not even close.
Santa
Yeah.
Barbara's just so
A city now.
incredible, Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a small little beach town, and you
Yeah.
get to spend a lot of time there.
Yeah. I love
And
it.
so you just really feel a strong impulse. You're loving Bells. You want to get over there and say what's up.
Yeah.
And I feel like that wave is kind of gnarly, huh?
That wave's
challenging and
really
trippy,
hard.
like really hard.
Yeah. A lot of people honestly don't like it. It's really hard to surf. Winky Pop is amazing on
That's
the
a
other hand.
dream wave,
So when we
yeah.
get heats down there, I feel like everyone's really stoked. It's kind of like got a J-Bay vibe to it.
Full blown, just stands up, way just more like the way that Bells always trips me out.
Bells
the way,
is
a
hard.
hard way to surf.
It
yeah.
is, and it's like steep and then flat, and there's boils in
Exactly.
it. A lot of times Bells is really slow too. There are these big long interval swells that get in there, so
It's a
that
hard
can be
place to really
tricky.
do good at. But
It
the fact
is.
is, you've surfed it a lot. You've surfed it a lot.
Yeah, I've surfed it a ton, and I've
And it's
never
like-
done that good, which is annoying. So I need to like rewrite that path.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be stoked to check you out at Bells this year. And from what I understand, the tour starts at Bells this year.
It does. Yeah. Starts
In
at the Bells.
April.
In April. I
April
know.
1st is the start of the wait day.
Very good. Yeah.
Wow, they've really revamped the tour.
They have.
And a little bit of tour talk, like so what they were doing, they flipped the script, and all of a sudden they were like, what were they like, starting at Pipeline?
Yeah.
It's kind of like,
Which was a little funky town.
trippy,
Yeah, I think obviously the tour I've been on for so long now. I've seen it go through so many different phases. And as a surfer, I think most surfers have voiced this, and I feel confident and comfortable saying it. The WSL know at this point too. Like the way the tour is going back to this year and how it was before they introduced like the cut and maybe starting in Hawaii, where, you start in Australia. It used to be at Snapper, but you'd have 3 events in Australia, and then you finish a pipeline at the end of the year, no cut, and the world champs based off of collective points. I think every surfer felt like that's how it should be. That's the most fair way to do it. It's better for surfers because you get a full year on tour with the cut. Financially, surfing it's better than it used to be, but if you only get 5 events, that's a huge implications on your sponsorship, and you don't get prize money after those 5 events. So that was also a really big thing for the surfers too.
Yeah.
And it's been really cool. Honestly, the WSL has had, some new people come in, and I'm so impressed with them and just the leadership there now, and changed back to the schedule we have this year, which is honestly maybe the best schedule I've seen since I've been on tour. It's really exciting, all the spots we get to go. And in terms of the people competing on the women's side is really, really rad. We have like Steph coming back, Carissa coming back.
I know, that's incredible.
It's so cool.
And some new blood, right? You guys are taking in as many as 24 people on tour now, right?
Yep, the girls is going up. So there's some really, I'm just so proud of the WSL and just the changes that have happened, because it's not easy, and they're also trying to run a business, and surfing can be really tricky for that. I get it. And, it's everyone's just trying to do the best they can. Yep. And obviously getting to do these contests all around the world is all of our dreams too. And we're so thankful that the WSL puts these events on and has really tried to make positive changes. And the other thing also is the years we have started at Pipe, these last few years, I think one thing everyone notices, there was always a lot of bad injuries even before Pipe would start, because it's obviously such a heavy wave. So there was 2 or 3 guys or a girl or 2 that would have a really bad injury and not even get to surf the rest of the year. So it's kind of gnarly spot to have it be a starting point at, because it was just so risky. With it at the end, it's more like, even if you get hurt, it's all right. You're going into your off season.
Totally.
You know what
That's
I mean?
That's a big point to make.
But it happened, I think, to 4 or 5 different guys, and they just missed the whole year, and that was it.
That's
so,
really sad.
So I think that's going to be great too, now that that's back at the end.
It's a great place to go balls out at the end, and also for the viewer, the whole thing is ending at Pipe. It just, especially if it's waves of consequence of Pipe with, with backdoor, with Pipe, the whole thing lights up. It starts just being,
it's how it should be.
Really how it should be. So it's great to see that come back.
Yeah.
And, I got to say, I don't know if anyone liked the mid-year cut. Did I ever meet someone that was like, yeah, that's rad? No one like that.
I don't think many people did.
But I think maybe, at least from the tour point of view, if we're just touching that a little bit, it's like, well, maybe their thing was, let's just narrow it down to the focused people that are right in the pocket, right?
Yeah.
And give them more time and space. And maybe these guys just, whatever. But the people that I know that experienced it on the front and back of that, some friends of mine, got on the wrong side of the cut a couple times, right? Or once or whatever. Yeah. And they felt like, man, it's just, maybe you click in a couple more contests later, it's just I deserve a year.
Absolutely.
I deserve a year. Yeah. I qualified. I deserve a year. I just should have, give me my year.
I totally agree. And surfing's just too weird of a sport. There's so many variables out of your control.
Yes.
That 5 events, honestly, it's just not enough. If you're going to have a cut, in my opinion, that's just not enough events to have the cream does usually rise, but there's just...
It's not enough for the cream to rise yet.
Yeah, and there's so many good surfers. And also, the coolest thing about sports across the board, any sport, is that you always have top seeds and then lower seeds, and the lower seeds, there's always an event where there's an upset, and the lower seeds are going to make an impact and beat some higher seed, or maybe win the whole event. So if you kind of remove those players sometimes too, I feel like it takes away a little bit from a lot of the excitement.
Definitely.
Because you love having that full field of different surfers. So I'm happy it's going back to
the no cut.
Yeah.
And back to starting in Oz with 3 events in Oz, which I find cool, because I don't recall them ever starting at Bell's.
No, always at Snapper.
It's always at Snapper. So now we go from Bell's to Margaret's to Snapper in May.
Yeah.
So that ought to be interesting, because
think
that's the
it'll be
latest I think they have. That's when they really have the chance to get some of those really rad cyclones. It could be early May.
Yes, I think so.
So that would be insane to get that.
Insane.
So that's a cool way to kind of go. From cold to medium
to warm.
Yeah. We end up at warm, right?
Totally.
So and then what do we do? We go to Brazil after that?
Then we go, I should know that.
Is that what it is?
I don't think it's Brazil.
I'm putting you on the grill, girl. Look,
yeah,
what do we
need
got?
to pull
What's
up the schedule.
Like?
I haven't looked at it. I'm in my off season.
That's good. Good for you. Yeah, no pressure. Yeah.
We go.
But
No, yeah. I think Brazil. I think maybe you're right. Maybe El Salvador and then Brazil.
Oh, I think it is. Yeah.
I think, and then
Alex, could you do me a favor? Could you read off what the women's are doing? Look, he's already on it. My boy Alex over there just
I should
crushing
know that.
it.
I think it's shout out Alex. I think it's El Sal Brazil. Back here, Trestles, maybe.
We're coming to Trestles this year.
We're coming to Trestles this year for a full season event.
And just everyone, no finals.
No.
Oh my God! Here's another one. Alex is going to pull up the list, but then I want to talk a little bit about the finals.
Yeah.
That whole type of deal.
Yeah.
Like we're going to a normal final now, right?
Yeah. Just normal, no final five deal.
Yeah, well, whatever. I get why they tried that. I get why they tried everything.
Yeah.
It's cool to try stuff because it's stimulating and it re-sparks it. And what it will do for sure is, and I want to throw this out there, I think it'll just make us really appreciate, what they did is they threw us a curveball for a few years, tried some different stuff. Yeah. We all got to test it out and go, damn, what's that all about?
Yeah.
But it was cool in its own way. And now we're going back to what we just love. Starting in Oz, ending at Pipe, no mid-year cut, and a finals all the way through. So, I mean, if you could win Pipe and be in 12th.
Yeah.
And maybe win the tour.
Well, Pipe's also going to be a whammy event, so it's worth 1.5 more points than any other event. So that'll really keep it open to somebody winning the title at Pipe and not winning like an event before, which I think everyone would want it to come down to Pipe. Surfers too,
Totally.
So that kind of leaves the door more open.
1.5 times the points.
Yes.
At Pipe only.
At Pipe only.
So it comes hot at Pipe because it's the end of the year, and then they got the numbers to look at and go, oh, in this heat, that, poop, and it makes it from an audience side, it's stupendous. Yeah, I mean, let's talk a little bit about wave pools. I mean, the one thing that we talked earlier was that surfing's so rad because you never know. It's got the Mother Nature factor, right? It's got so many factors, right? So many things can change. And all of a sudden, you throw in like the idea to do it at a wave pool where now we've taken and guaranteed you X amount of waves. Everyone it's like a skate park.
Yeah.
Right? So on one side, you go, wow, it's pretty cool because everyone gets the one thing about surfing, we thought, well, wow, we didn't get another wave. It's not fair. It's this and that, but it's not. No.
Yeah.
It is fair because everyone's in the water for 30 minutes and what you get, you get. You're either a hunter or you're not.
Yeah.
You get punked or you're getting the spoils, right? It's not fair when you're a caveman and you're hunting.
Yeah.
It's not fair. You just bring home the hunt.
Yeah.
You bring home the fur. You didn't bring home the fur. What's up?
Yeah.
So that's what the beauty of surfing is. There's nothing guaranteed. You come to a wave pool, however, and now you're guaranteed X amount of waves. You don't have to hunt for anything.
It's very different.
So in that way, it's valid because everyone's going to get, and they're always going to get the same wave.
Yeah.
But I want to say from a perspective of this before I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, you go.
I like that part of it. I'm just going to throw it out there. Do me in if you need to, but I find it boring.
Yeah.
Because as a spectator, without the hunt, I'm sitting there going, okay, so then they just get another wave. I mean, it's the same wave. So I think from riding the wave, it's really cool because you do get to at least go, yeah, man, I'm comparing on the equal playing field.
Yeah.
But the rest of it's just kind of...
Yeah, I feel you on that. I think a lot of people have that opinion, same opinion as you. I think it's valid. Like, it's way different than any other surf contest, that we have for that exact reason. And everyone getting the same wave is interesting too. Obviously, some people, you really see the people who are way better out there than everyone in like the middle zone surf it really similarly low. It's like their run is the same, if you will. It's like 2-3 turns before the first barrel, 5 to 6 turns between the first barrel and the second barrel, and then big move, try and air, whatever.
It's like mapped out.
It's really interesting, yes. And obviously, you're not like paddle battle. There's nothing with priority. So it is way different to compete. I prefer competing in the ocean. I think the wave system and the wave pool is, more of potentially like, I think there's a lot of sponsorships involved with that, which is really cool.
Totally.
And it also gives surfing like a platform in a totally different area, which I think is really cool too.
Oh, like Abu Dhabi.
Like Abu Dhabi is a great example.
Yeah, that's incredible, right?
Yeah. So I think like from that point of view, it's really cool for surfing in that way. And to go free surf is so much. I mean, it's so fun for the surfer to get to surf the wave pool.
Totally.
It's the best. But I do understand from a viewership perspective how it gets a little bit repetitive probably to watch.
There's something lost in the sense that you're not watching people paddle. Just, you got, but so, I mean, this is what I could say about it for myself. I think everything you said was so valid. Of course, you're living that life. So how could it not be? I want to say I think one contest a year in a really good wave pool, all good.
Yeah.
I don't think more than one.
Yeah.
You know, I think one, you're like, okay, cool. We get to kind of go level playing field style.
Yeah.
That's the part I see about it. It's ultimately valid.
Yeah.
It's just level playing field. The rest of it, it's not as exciting to watch. Well, whatever. Get over it. Cry me a river. The truth is, for the surfers, they get a chance to be on equal playing field, get X amount of waves in the same wave, and really just show, like, you know, it's like,
it's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, I have this idea that this is off the subject, but like, if I could do a contest, I'd like to give 10 directors the same script, the same budget.
This is cool.
Okay. And just see what you got.
Yeah.
Okay. Because they got the same script and the same budget, and then they go out, they get their own actors, they get their own, but you know, it's all it's kind of in this box.
Yeah.
And then you'd see 10 different movies.
Yeah.
So what I'd love to see, you know, and it's like, what I'd love to see is just where you really see different performance. Like you said, it kind of, that kind of wave almost makes you have to like formatize your surfing to link the sections together.
Yeah.
Right. So it becomes kind of formatty. Whereas like, I'd love to see someone like, you know, wouldn't it be sick to see like Dane Reynolds in that, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And to your point you just made, I think a lot of the times I've noticed over the years, people who are the most creative on the wave get way better scores because it's something fresh to look at. Even I remember last year, Katie Simmers made the final against Molly Picklum. Katie ended up winning, but in the final, and she's so creative and got this cool style and vibe to her that everyone loves, but she stood up, she took off way further. It sounds weird, but you kind of line up on these poles of where you take off from. And she went way further up, and everyone was like, wow, she's taking off like a lot sooner than the normal spot. Stood up and like pumped really close to the gate and just did this big roundhouse cut back, totally different, like a total different approach. And it was like, whoa, that was so different and cool. And it was just a roundhouse cutback, but it was like she ripped the rest of the wave and she got some huge score. But it was like, wow, that was such a cool different perspective. And so to your point, I think that's really valid of like bringing something more creative to the table.
Yeah.
Looks better, at least in the event for sure, because it all looks the same other than that.
Yeah, and I think it might even be a little harder to do that at a wave like that because they run kind of fast.
Yes.
And you know, the ones they held them in so far, was that at Kelly's wave last year? Or no,
that was in Abu Dhabi last year. That was our first year to
Okay.
Abu Dhabi. Before
That's
that, they've been at the Lemoore.
Yeah,
one,
okay.
yeah.
And they kind of run. So, yeah, it's just a challenge, and I think I would just throw it out there just from the research that I feel like we're throwing it out there to say, just try to make it even that much more creative. I know it's got to be hard because you're kind of in this box, but like if you could do that, I just think that's the way to win that.
Yeah.
You know, to really just blow minds and go, whoa, like you said, with, you know, Katie. So anyway, here we are, and we've talked about your top 5. We've talked about everything, I think, up until this point, which is going on tour this year. You know, what kind of, I'm a trainer as well, so I'd love to, I know you're really into training. I know you're very athletic in terms of your approach, right? So I'd love to talk to you a little bit about, you know, training techniques or anything you'd like to talk about, whatever, diet or fitness or anything that interests you in that way.
I'm super into training and health and fitness, and just, I always kind of have been. For me with surfing's a weird one because I feel like you can be so fit in the gym but not have surfed for a while, and you go surf and you're like, whoa, oh my gosh, I'm so out of shape. Like, it's just a different fitness style. So I always say the best thing for surfing fitness is surfing, of course. But again, we don't always have waves, and my training and the way I've approached it has changed over the years. Like everyone, I think when I was younger, I was pretty just relentless on my body. I would just go so hard with surfing and training and no recovery.
And what kind of training did you do back then, for instance?
I do similar stuff in the gym back then, but it's a lot. It's a lot of plyometrics, power, and then I don't lift like heavy weights, but I do weights for sure. I think I used to do a lot more like a deadlift or squats and stuff like that. Now I've got a ginger back that taught me a lot, but I'm a little bit more aware of like how I train. So now I actually do like 3 days a week on reformer Pilates, which is life-changing. Life-changing, yeah. Honestly, I say this and I'll say it again, for anybody who just wants their body to feel better, I swear that Pilates reformer is just the best thing.
Unparalleled. Best thing in the world, yeah.
So that has just helped me so much feel good through the whole year. Cause also too, like, we're traveling, we're on planes. I'm not in business class. Like, totally, it's a lot on your body just with the schedule we have.
Just to get there.
Yeah. And so that maintenance and just getting me so strong, like in my core and those little intrinsic muscles, has helped so much. And then I weight train when I'm in a contest, I'm not doing all of this, but this is like preseason. I'll do weight, plyo, explosive stuff, probably the other 2 or 3 days a week, and then I'll take a full day off. And then it depends on the waves too, obviously.
What's going on with the swell?
Yeah.
And then you'll take one day off. It doesn't have to be whatever day the waves are flat, probably.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's not like I take Sundays off.
Yeah.
Like when you're rigidly training from my end, it's more like, well, we take Sundays off. But yeah, so you take the day off, but in between you're doing a lot of different stuff.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And on a diet perspective, is there anything particular that you like to share?
Yeah.
It's, like what we've learned in our lives about intake.
Obviously, everybody is so different. Every body is so different, too. I feel like there's not like one diet, one thing fits all. For me, I definitely feel my best if I take like a paleo approach. I love good animal proteins. I love clean meats, everything organic. And then, some greens in there. I love sweet potatoes and that sort of thing for my starches. But I'm not super into like a ton of bread, a ton of grains. I'll have a little bit, but
so you're probably not sitting down eating huge bowls of pasta.
No, not
even
too
though
often.
You probably love the way it tastes.
I do. This off season a little bit more than normal, but
I mean, man,
yeah.
I love pasta, but it just makes you feel so bloated, like gnarly. But it never makes me feel satisfied either. Like I could just eat a whole bowl of pasta and like still feel hungry. Kinda.
Yeah.
Whereas you talk a little more on the paleo style, you're really getting your protein needs. You're getting all your minerals. You're getting what you need. You're not really getting all this extra. But we know also that to some degree, tell me if I'm wrong, but we do need some carbs, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
People who go full non-carb,
I can't. Like full keto is so crazy to me.
I don't think it's smart.
Yeah. No, I'll have like sometimes I'll have a nice piece of sourdough with eggs in the morning, or like, I'm not crazy. I'll have quinoa, and I also have cheat days. I mean, maybe once every couple weeks, I'll go get a pizza or get that pasta.
Beautiful stuff. I agree with all that, 100%. Yeah. I just know that I believe wholeheartely in the fact that you are what you eat. You're a living organism that really completely does absorb so quickly.
Yeah.
Like from what I know of like liquids, for instance, you are literally, what you drink this is how we know this. Okay. If you drink a shot of alcohol, for instance, how quick does it take to fill that? Seconds.
Yeah, you're pretty. Yeah.
Seconds, right? So what you drink is just instantly washing your cells. Yeah. It's just literally washing your cells. So if you could, if people really realize the level of importance, like what we drink, what we eat, I mean, what we chew and we put it down, it goes through a different process still, but like anything that's liquid is boom. So people look in, they're, like for me, I go, I'm really into water.
Yeah.
Well, from what I understand, we're 80%-ish, somewhere around 80% water.
Yeah.
We're not 80% smoothie.
Yeah.
We're not 80% milk.
Yeah.
We're not 80% beer.
Yeah.
So when I see people that don't really drink much water, but they're drinking a lot of other stuff, and I'm going, okay, but tap into the water, the good water.
Critical, because our regular water you get here from the tap is not feeding you well. I promise you that. So I'm with you on that fully.
Tap water.
Yeah, tap water is so gross.
Gnarly. I don't even know if people drink tap water.
I mean, I think they do like filtered out of their fridge, which
crazy.
But if you could get like a nice, whatever, even just go get some Valley Mountain water from the store or something, whatever you can do, because I do agree with you on that one. Water is a huge one.
Huge. And then what you eat, what you choose, and everybody's different. So we agree on that. Like there's no one way. Like, I did this show where I had 3 guys that came in. We did this show called What is the Truth? And I was speaking with 3 different men who live pure carnivore diet.
Wow.
One guy I know has been doing it for 2 years.
That's gnarly.
And all he eats is a ribeye steak and eggs and an avocado.
And it feels good.
He says he feels good. He tells me he feels good. And that's all he eats for 2 years. And it's like, he looks good, I mean, but I want to say this. I'm not trying to brag, but I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Is when we're in the gym.
No.
There's he's not even with me. Like he's not even in the mix. Every single one of the guys that do that, they don't have the energy that I have. They don't have anywhere near the power. Like they talk a good talk and they walk a good walk. But at the end of the day, I mean, I just always go, to me, it's all the proof's in the pudding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's get gnarly. Let's get
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
What do you want to go do? Speed biking?
Yeah.
What do you want to do? You want to go like, I'm 65 years old and I just now the last 2 nights beat some personal best records
Wow.
of my own
Wow.
that I've been pushing on for, 50 years. So I'm just saying, it's like, it's all in the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
Okay. So when the guy says, he's like, KV, I feel great. I look at him, I go, that could be the placebo effect, my man. Like alcoholics tell me they feel great. Junkies tell you they feel great. People who eat at McDonald's, who tells you they don't feel great?
Yeah.
So you feel great, but how about the numbers? And you go, I don't want to look at the numbers. When you get your blood checked.
Yeah. Yeah.
I go, you don't want to look at the numbers?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? Probably because he's a little scared about certain things he doesn't want to have to answer to. He goes, bottom line is, I feel great. And I'm like, good for you.
Yeah.
And this was all on a show I did. And it's like, wow, I'm sitting over here going, what I've learned is balance.
Yeah. You're right.
I preach it.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's your diet look like?
My diet looks like, from what I've learned, I've used my, I spent 19 years in various forms of vegetarianism.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When I was a teenager, I went to a pig farm and I just said, I will never eat that again.
Yeah.
And I haven't had pork in almost 50 years now. It just didn't seem like it wasn't for me.
That's fair.
Yeah. And then
Pork's not that good anyways for
it's
you,
not that
right?
good for you. It's terrible. It's not even what we think too. It's the fat.
Yeah.
Is unsoluble in the human system.
Right. It's
So
gross.
people eat it's so good.
Yeah.
But people eat pork and the fat doesn't really digest.
Ew.
And so you see people that eat a lot of pork, like you see these like classic like Italian men in New York, hey, buddy, over here. Those guys, right?
Yeah.
And they eat a lot of pork.
Yeah.
And when they're older, they always have these pocky faces, big like weird growths on their nose and face. It's pork fat.
Yeah.
They eat pork like, say if there's 52 weeks, 365 days a year, they eat pork like 300 of those mornings.
Wow. Yeah.
10 years of that is 3,000 meals of I think about it that way long term.
Yeah,
And your body's in there not really assimilating it, so it shoves it aside.
Yeah.
And then at one point it kind of, whatever. So and then I did this, and then I got away from meat for I just no religious thing. I just felt at that time
Sure.
it was, kind of that era, and I went that route, and I did that for 19 years in various forms of vegetarianism. At one point I was a raw foodist.
Wow.
And I lived in Maui, and I was running and swimming
You're
and surfing
hippied
and
out.
full-blown surfer hippied out. And but
In paella.
I started Mana Foods.
Wow. No way.
I'm the founder of Mana
I
Foods.
didn't know that. I actually have been there a lot.
Yeah,
'Cause I'll
that's my story. I
That's
started that.
sick.
So, yeah. And so, I was a raw foodist, and I was doing this thing, and I was real lean, but I had a constant headache. And I came back to California years later. I came back to go to film school, and I see my mom, and she's like, she's all mad at me because I look kind of lean, and I was ripped.
Yeah.
But I lost some of my meat,
Yeah,
and my mom was, moms are, just want to keep you.
Yeah.
So she's like, hey, you're so mad at me. I go,
Yeah.
Mom, what are you doing? So anyway, push forward a bunch of years. I was hitting the wall. I was training with Olympians, and I was training on a track team at 37 years old. I was running track on, competitively. So I just couldn't get enough protein.
Yeah.
So I go to this lady, Rhonda Bulkley, who's Brian Bulkley. I'm sure you know who that is. He's a pipe legend. And his wife did this thing called microscopy.
Okay.
And she clicked in and looked at my blood in such a way and said, man, you haven't had red meat in a long time. I looked at her and I go,
How do you know that?
She says, because the 4 things you lack all come from red meat.
Yeah.
So she said, why don't you eat like a vegetarian? Just try a piece of steak a couple times, see what it feels like.
Right.
And I was working on a film in Northern California, had a steak, and it changed my life.
Wow.
And I've been eating meat ever since.
Right.
Yeah, because for me,
Yeah.
I come from meat eating stock.
Yeah.
The only vegetarian culture that I know of is from India. Okay?
Yeah.
And I'm just going to throw this a little bit of comedy, but I'm going to throw it out there.
I like it.
Ever seen the Indian Olympic team?
I don't know if I actually have.
Okay.
But I'm
just
getting
saying,
it.
because the cow is sacred there.
Yeah.
They don't eat the cow.
Right.
And that's all cool. And I'm not putting you down with your Hindu vibe or whatever.
Sure.
It's all good Buddhism.
Sure.
No disrespect. But I'm just saying, athletically, let's bring it back. Athletically.
I hear ya.
Protein.
I'm all about
Okay,
it.
protein.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's flip the script on that. How about the German Olympic team? A very meat-eating culture.
solid. Yeah.
It's just like, so let's put India, let's put them as the, for the, okay. And then there's us. Here we are. I think we're a unique blend.
Sure.
America. We're such a unique blend. So we have a chance to really get the best of the best of the best, as they do all over the world, but we're just unique. Here in California especially.
Yeah.
We're kind of on the forefront in a lot of ways, right? So I believe that the best thing is to get a really strong amount of protein often throughout the day.
Yeah.
Right? Not just one big hit.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think your body assimilates it well like that.
Yeah.
And then I've been doing a lot of research about that lately. And then also a balance, Yeah, you want your greens and your salads, but there's been times where I was around pro athletes, I don't eat bread. I'm like, have a piece of toast,
Yes,
man.
of course.
You're burning so many calories, bro. That's ridiculous for your brain, right?
I agree.
And I'll end it with this one. So we're at this place, Active Culture in town.
Yeah, I love
and
it.
I'm there with a good friend of mine, Shane Beshin, and a bunch of our friends. We're hanging out. And our other really good friend, who's from your area, I don't know if you know Mike Erickson. He's used to own Surf and Style and all that. It's Sage's uncle.
Uncle, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, one of my best friends. And
Yeah.
Shane and him and Dino are my 4 group of best friends.
Yeah.
We're at Active Culture, and it's organic there, right?
Yeah.
And Mike at this stage was kind of like, you could see he's getting like worried, and he asked Shane like, hey, Shane, do you think is this organic?
Yeah,
And Shane's so classic. Shane looks at him and goes, we call Mike Fatty, but he goes, Fatty, the stress over whether or not it's organic or not is worse for you than the deal. It was like this moment.
It's so true.
It's so true. So on some level, we're just still trying to have fun, eat good, eat healthy, find what works for you.
Yeah.
And I don't have the answers. I just have a lot of questions.
Yeah. I'm with you on all that. That's really interesting to hear. Thank you for sharing that. It's definitely, food is medicine, and you got to go with what works for your body. And, you're always learning and evolving and, figuring out what works. But I agree. It's all about having balance in everything. It's like why these beautiful Italian people live for so long. And it's half of that's because they just eat from their garden and don't stress too hard, and they'll have a glass of wine, but they're, you know what I mean? A lot of it, I do think, really comes down to just living like a harmonious life and not worrying so hard about it.
Big time. And we just, my wife and I just got back. We took a trip to Sardinia.
Oh, incredible.
Oh my gosh.
Was it amazing?
So amazing, But I'll end with that whole veggie thing. How about this? Okay, so what does a vegetarian animal always do?
I don't know.
Let's take a giraffe.
Okay.
It's never not eating.
That's true.
It just eats
That's
all day.
true.
It's just, right?
That's true,
It's just chewing and chewing and chewing.
Yeah.
Okay, which is good. Okay, because that gets short energy from that food source. Short, quick energy. However, it's so quick that it's got to keep doing it because it's going to, okay, what is a lion? What is a lion?
Once a week.
Once a week,
Big
it goes
feast.
in raw
Yeah.
and it gets the blood, which I think is the key, right? The blood and the meat, you get all this life, and it just chills all week.
Yeah.
So what Rhonda, so what I do, and this is what happened for my training and my athletic journey, was the short energy worked great, but I was tapping out.
Yeah.
And when I added meat in, I blew my shit out because it had so much more staying power.
Yeah.
Okay. So I blend I take the short energy and I get the long energy.
Yeah.
I got the short and the long.
Yeah.
You
Best
know?
of all worlds.
Yeah. And so it's it's kind of working. Like, I mean, I can actually show proof by what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I just did 150 push-ups straight in one set.
Wow. And you're 65?
I'll be 66 in a month.
Wow. Okay. That's insane.
And I just did 100 push-ups with 45-pound plate on my back.
Wow.
And that's just a start. I do a ton of other stuff
Yeah.
all day long.
Yeah.
So, granted, I was probably born with natural energy. I'm pretty energetic.
Yeah.
But I tell people, they go, how come you're so energetic? Well, first of all, I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't drink coffee.
Sure.
Okay.
Sleep
Coffee
good.
itself is an energy robber.
Yeah.
It robs you of energy. It doesn't give you energy.
I'm guilty of
okay.
coffee. That's
Whatever.
The
it's
one
all good.
thing
Everyone
I just
finds.
can't give up.
Okay. But all I'm
That's the
saying
one
is it's
thing.
fake energy. I tell people, you want energy long run?
I know.
Find things that give you energy, that takes energy, makes you feel like you have energy, but it took it from you.
Right.
Okay. So, but still, in the big picture, as we continue, you're going into your 30s now. You're in your 30s. You're on tour still, 14 years. So stoked for you. I try to give back a little bit from my journey as well. So I know we're here to talk to you about everything, but I'm giving back a little bit too as well.
No, it's awesome
and so what I really feel is that you're so into fitness. It's so obvious. You're known for that.
Yeah. I love it.
And you're on tour, and I know you have large aspirations,
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel comfortable talking about that, but I can just say that I'd love to know where what's going on with Lakey.
Where my head's at going into this year. I mean, look, it's been I obviously this is my 14th season, and it's been an incredible journey, and I love that I get to be a professional surfer. I've loved every second of it, and I'm really excited for this year. I definitely have goals. I'm actually working on my goal board right now of more specifically for surfing speaking, events that I'd like to win, and I'd love to be, the goal every year is always to try and be the world champ at the end of the year, and you got to shoot for that.
Yep.
And if you land on that, amazing. If you land close to that, amazing. At least you show up and try your best, and I always say all you can do is all you can do. But I definitely have those goals mapped out for myself, and to enjoy this year fully, because I don't know how many more years I'm going to do this. Like, truthfully, I hopefully a fair few more, and I'm still kicking and doing well, but also there's things in life that I want to. I'd love to have a child, one day, and we're definitely starting to feel like we're in that stage of life soon, too. So I don't know. I do want to enjoy every step of the process this year, through the wins and the losses and everything in between, and do my best surfing. Because at the end of the day, if I know I just showed up and did my best, whatever the results are, I'll just be happy with that. And we'll see after that. But yeah, certainly we want, kids eventually too, and who knows where it goes after, all that. But for now, just, gonna enjoy this season and absolutely give it my all and best foot forward and have a hell time doing it.
Well, you know what? It's really cool. That's such a cool thing to say. And I got to say, from everything I've seen, you're surfing insane.
Thanks.
So there's no reason why you're prime, You've got all the experience you've got. You're still so youthful. You do the work. You do the, you eat good. You look good. Everything's good. Like you're right there in the mix. There's no reason why you're anything but your best right now. So shooting for the top and see where it lands. That's what I was taught as well.
Yeah.
So, I just really want to say congratulations on everything you've done so far.
Thank you.
And good luck with this year.
Thank you.
And you know what? Thanks for coming on my show.
Thank you for having me. I'll come on anytime. It was really fun talking to you. We
Super
keep going
cool.
for hours.
Awesome.
I appreciate it.
Oh, one more thing. Anything you want to plug, anything you want to talk about that you got that you want to talk about?
I'm actually starting a podcast too, which is going to be a lot of fun. It's with me and my friend Kaylee Gilchrist, and we're going to be starting that up in January, so more to come there, but definitely look into that. And then I have a YouTube channel also. People can follow me along on that. We do vlogs from our travels, and it's a ton of fun. So I always plug those two things.
Cool.
And it's a fun way to follow along. Yeah.
And again, we just want to make sure we got the plugs in there, because I know people would love to check your stuff out.
Yeah, appreciate
it. Thanks again for coming. It's so cool to have you in the show.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Sweet.